guys, this is June from Happy Indulgence, and today I am talking to you about the books that I read in June. So I will be doing my June wrap up about the 5 books I read this month. It's really hard to continue with YouTube and Instagram and blogging only because Amelia's over 6 months now and time has just flown by so fast. But these days she's napping less and she and I go out most days to see friends or to go to the park, and it's really hard to stay motivated to keep YouTubing. So thank you for those who have been sticking to me at the moment. But if you do see me posting a lot less from now on, you'll know why. During June, it was actually a really busy month for me. I had my worst reading month of the whole year, mainly because I read some really bad books that I did not like at all. And I also went to the Whitsunday Voices Youth Literature Festival where I got to talk about my book blogging journey with almost 1,000 students. It was a really incredible experience. I was really inspired after. I had some great conversations with the authors and the illustrators who went to the event. Today I actually came back from speaking to a local school about my book blogging journey as well, so hopefully I'll be able to do a bit more of that. I am actually speaking at the Brisbane Writers Festival next month. I'm actually on the Art of Reading panel with some fantastic names, so there I'll be talking about how I choose how to read, and also I'll be hosting an event which is the End of Days event with AJ Betts, Alison Evans and Lily Wilkinson. So that's actually a dystopian panel, so there's lots of fun things happening. I have also returned to ABC Radio where I talk about books once a month. Amelia's just making noise. But I am also back on ABC Radio, so yeah, there's a few things going there, and I'm just really grateful that I get these amazing opportunities after blogging for so long. So Amelia did really well on our first trip away, and she did really great on the airplane as well. She loved all the attention that she got, and yeah, it was just really wonderful to have my husband there as well to support me during the speaking. I did vlog about it, which I'll link up above as well. I'm just going to go through the books that I read. As usual, I'll talk about the books that I love the most and then the books that I love the least, and I'll give them a star rating. So the first book was actually a reread for me, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. And I looked back at Goodreads and I noticed that I never really actually reviewed this book because it's so hard to review books that I absolutely love, but I made sure to review this one, which will be going up on my blog soon actually. And I read this in preparation for the Dragon Republic, which is just released, and I'm just waiting for my copy to arrive now. But I absolutely love Poppy War. This is my reread. So it's about a girl called Rin, and she's basically really wanting to join this elite academy of military people so that she can protect her country from war. And they are in the middle of a war as well, so oh my gosh, this book is completely brutal. It's so fantastic. There's a lot of focus on martial arts and the mentality behind it. But also Rin, there's like a grey area as well, whether she's good or bad, because she is really fierce and she will stop at nothing to protect her own people. And oh my gosh, this book does come with a lot of trigger warnings. I think I've talked about that before, but it does go into like really violent, genocidal, wartime brutalities, and yeah, it's not for everyone. It's definitely an adult fantasy read, but I absolutely love it. I love how the book is set in 3 parts. So the first one is about the military academy at Sinagard and how she meets her colleagues and friends, and she's trained in the art of law from one of her masters, and it's really interesting. There is arch nemesis that she gets at the academy called Neja, and together there's just like a lot of bickering and a lot of fighting between them. Part 2 of the book is when they start to defend their country, and then they join the army, and then they start to do a lot of military wartime tactics, and they're in the thick of things in the war. And then part 3 is when things really start to take off, and oh my gosh, this book is freaking brilliant, especially if you love like military tactics and fantasy and wartime books. I love it so much because it's set in sort of modern day history China, and it's also based on historical historical events as well, which are really dark and brutal, but it is such a fantastic book, my favorite book of last year in fact, and I can't wait to read The Dragon Republic. Obviously, I gave my reread of this one 5 stars. The next book I want to talk about is The Surprising Power of a Good Dumpling by Chim, and I was really looking forward to this book because it's about a Chinese Australian girl living in Australia dealing with her mother's mental illness growing up. She's actually the oldest sibling out of 3, and she needs to look after her younger brother and her sister, and there's a lot of sibling rivalry because her mum has a mental illness and spends all day in bed. So this book is something that I related to so much, especially about my teenage life, growing up in Australia, being from an Asian family. And there's a lot of perception when it comes to mental health and how the Chinese culture deals with it as well. So this covered so many things from Asian food to the casual racism that we receive every day, and then also having difficulties communicating with our parents because, you know, obviously English is their second language. It was a really touching read, really heartwarming. I related so much to a lot of things in this book as well. Anna actually starts dating a boy called Rory who works for her father at his restaurant, and then he's actually suffering from depression, and he tells Anna about his journey, and she says things like, "Oh, I thought you seemed okay," or "Is it all fixed now?" And there's just things like that that furthers your understanding about what depression and mental illness is about. I think this book is perfect, especially if you're an Asian person living in Australia or even from an immigrant family living in Australia, and it also furthers your understanding as well. So obviously I gave this one 5 stars. The end had me in total tears because it was kind of bittersweet, but it was really touching as well. The next book I read is The Quiet at the End of the World by Lauren James, and this book was a really different read. The thing about Lauren James books is that there's a fantastic twist always. Definitely didn't see the twist coming in this one. So it's about a dystopian world. Basically, Lowry and Shen are 2 people who are the youngest people in the whole world because the whole world has become infertile. It has like such a huge twist as well that I didn't see coming, and I thought it was done really well as well, and it makes you think about humanity and what it means to be human. And I don't know, I kind of see like books like this, it kind of seems a bit plausible about what's going to happen, you know, like 20, 30, 100 years in the future. So it goes into AI technology as well and about the consequences of that, and it was really interesting. So I gave this one 4 stars. Now on to 2 reads that I did not enjoy at all. The first one is Nocturna by Motayne, and I read this one for the Name of the Book Club pick as well in July. It's about 2 characters called Finn and Alfie, and basically Finn is a thief and Alfie is a prince that uses magic as an escape. So Finn basically has a face shifting ability, which is really interesting. Everyone in this world can basically use magic to a certain extent. So we picked this book because it's Latinx inspired and we wanted to see where it would go. But I thought there were a lot of similarities to A Darkest Shade of Magic, especially towards the beginning, and I liked Finn and her sass, and I liked Alfie at the start as well. But then as you read the story as it goes along, you realize just how convenient things are. So for example, Finn and Alfie end up meeting in a castle when she breaks in, and then Alfie's like, "Oh yeah, let's just accompany each other." So things like that, like they form an unlikely alliance but you're not sure why, and together like things just keep on happening. There's like an evil guy that they need to defeat, and like things just get way too convenient as the plot goes along. It pretty much removes all the intrigue for you as a reader. And it's really weird because this book reads a bit like it's a younger YA read, but there are some super violent scenes that I stumbled upon and I'm like, whoa, I did not expect that as well. So it's actually such a shame because I was really looking forward to reading this one with the Latinx inspired setting and the fantasy, but yeah, there wasn't too much that kept my interest as I was reading. So I gave this one 2 stars. The last book that I read that was probably one of my worst books of this year, maybe all time, is The Dysasters by PC Cast and Kristen Cast. I really wanted to read this one because basically it's a paranormal fantasy book about you know, gifted kids as usual, and there's a kid called Foster who can control cloud formations and airwaves, and then she bumps into a guy called Tate, and he can pretty much have night vision and control things as well. Oh my gosh, guys, if you can't tell from the title of this book was an absolute disaster. It was just written really, really badly. It just felt so corny and cheesy, and there were so many conveniences in the plot. Not only that, but there's one thing that was really problematic about this book is that it features a perspective from a transgender character, but this character is basically the target of everyone's abuse, including a sexual proposition gone wrong, and it was just really hurtful. Like, it's a hurtful way to portray a transgender character by just showing them being abused so that other readers will read it going, oh, poor person, and I didn't think that was great at all. It just felt like a really stereotypical character, and I really think those types of stories should be left to own voices authors who can write all the nuances about it and who can make sure that representation is correct. So yeah, this was pretty much a disaster. Oh my gosh. There's beautiful images though that I did like in it, but oh, it's so cheesy and the writing is terrible. I gave this one 1 star. These are the 5 books that I read during the month of July. I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on these books. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thanks guys, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.